I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts on my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. So he first had a dream. Yahweh showed him everything, and instead of rejoicing in the fact that the Almighty was showing him everything, he took it as a reason to be prideful and create an image to be worshipped through it. So then he has a different dream in which he gets all scared. So he says, I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts on my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore I issued a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known to me the interpretation of the dream. Then the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers came in, and I told them the dream, but they did not make known to me its interpretation. So he calls everybody. He should know who to call already, but he still is calling everybody. So he calls everybody, and they are afraid to tell him. Some may not get the interpretation, of course, maybe most, but because of the dream, which had a bad interpretation, that could cause the life of the person who would tell the king a negative interpretation. So the only one who was true and faithful was Daniel. So he would be the only one, like in the second chapter, who received the interpretation. He himself received the dream and then the interpretation. And now he's the only one who is actually faithful to say it no matter what the interpretation was. So then the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers came in, and I told them the dream, but they did not make known to me its interpretation. The fact that he says they did not make known shows that some of them or all of them knew, but they did not want to let him know. So that shows that it was negative, and they were afraid to tell him something negative, because that could mean that they would have to die. So, because back in the day, kings, they had issues because they were humans, unless they had the Almighty, like in the case of David, which is pretty much the greatest example of a king. Other than him, they all had issues. And even David had issues, but he was forgiven. So he's the only and greatest example. So he was forgiven, so he's taken as a person who never sinned, because he actually repented with all his heart of his sins. And his heart was like the heart of Yahweh. So the will of David was like the will of Yahweh. So that is key. Most kings just fulfill their own will, and Yahweh has to many times use them to do things, but many times, because of all the power that they receive, because of all the worship pretty much that the people give them and all of that, they tend to become, like the leaven. They become arrogant and many other things. So they end up thinking that they are like the Almighty. I was saying that because let me see. Then the magicians just So because there are times, and we see it in Esdras and Nehemiah and all the times in scriptures, when they would be sad and they would go to the king, and they would be kind of worried because the king could kill them for being sad before them. Back in the day, everybody who went to the king, they had to be with a happy face. They could not appear before the king all sad, because that would cause the king to become either sad or angry and end up taking their lives. So it is something amazing, and that is also kind of connects. It kind of connects with the fact that it says that nobody can see Yahweh and continue living. No human can see Yahweh and continue living.